Right, it is time for Currently Reading Challenge weekly wrap-up for week number 7. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be my week 7 wrap-up of the Currently Reading Challenge, which is my effort to reduce the number of pages and or titles on my Currently Reading. And this is the week 7, but it's actually my 8th week because I did have a dress rehearsal week, and it will be the final week. The plan is to read, the plan was to read 75 pages a day, 5 days out of the week for a grand total of 375 pages. And I picked from jars. I had one for nonfiction and one for fiction, and I picked 5 titles a week. And that's how I figure out what I am reading. As always, I will share how things went, and we are going to start with the least pages read to the most pages read per title. The least pages read went to, actually, it's no surprise, but it was a pretty tight race this week, but it went to Dungeons & Dragons Handbook for version 3.5. I read 25 pages from this, and I have 218 left. This is a very, very slow read. I read through the feats section, which I understand a lot better now that I've read it, which shouldn't be that surprising. It kind of feels like there's sort of like amplified skills, like being even better to being even better at something than you would be normally, or needing less preparation for something, or having better reflexes. So I understood it a bit more. For some reason, the title of feats, I thought it was, to be honest, I thought it was a little more epic. I thought it was a little more like you could do something that nobody else could do, or something that you had to train for. But no, it's like being able to be more skilled at like riding a horse and fighting at the same time, or needing less preparation for spells and stuff like that. So anyway, it was interesting. And one of the other things that I did with this book, as I did with a couple of titles this week, is that I looked at what's left, because the table of contents doesn't show up, so I had to go to the beginning and do the math and stuff like that, but which is fine. And I looked at it, and there's a whole, like 100 pages to spells, and I don't know if my character gets spells, so if they don't, I'm just going to skip that whole 100 pages, because it wouldn't make sense for me as a person to understand every single spell in the game. But if they do get spells, I will read the spells that they have, and maybe some of the low-level spells that the people in my party have, because it would make sense if we had discussions about things. Mind you, they're pretty reserved, so maybe they wouldn't tell me. I don't know. So I'll get to that when I get to that. It's not the next section, but it made me very relieved because I feel like this is so slow. This is like 4 pages or 6 pages an hour. Like, it's a very slow read. But I think it makes sense to not read the description of all of the spells, because I don't think my character would know that. So I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But from right now, I finished the feat section. I'm very happy with that. And then, so next up, I read 28 pages of The Diary of Anaïs Nin. This is from 1931 to 1934, volume 1. And I read 28 pages, and I have 219 left. So this and this, I read almost the same amount, 25, 28, and pages left, 218, 219. So that was a bit like strange. And this one, I also looked at it, because it's another slow read. I looked at the chapters and stuff, and I realized there's a very clear delineation, because the entries are by month, and each month is a year. Each month is within a year. So in terms of plotting ahead, it's pretty easy to set goals if I want to finish a month or finish a year, that kind of thing. So I ended up finishing 1932. So I'm halfway through the book in terms of timing, if not page count, because I've read 1931 and 1932, but I still have a fair amount to go. I gotta say, where I'm at right now, I'm getting a little frustrated, or just I feel like it's a bit strange how involved she is within the relationship of Henry and June. This is a memoir, I forgot to say that. Anaïs Nin is an author. She is very, very involved in their relationship, and I'm like, it just, at some point, it feels just a little, of course you're concerned about your friends, that makes sense. But just like, just like sometimes, like literally being in the room when they're arguing and sort of trying to help them, I'm like, that feels a little too far. I don't know, like maybe if you happen to be there when it starts, but she's just very, I guess she's very invested and she cares about them a lot. But I don't know, for me, sometimes I feel like, whoa, that feels like that's their relationship. That's their relationship. Maybe I am not understanding it enough. I will have to see where it goes. Maybe after the new year, things will change. Maybe 1933 will be different. Who knows? I will probably, I don't know if I'll get to continue reading that right just now or if I'll wait till the new year. I'm surprised at how long it's taken me. It really is slow. It's come up many times this time and in May, and I do tend to read about 30 pages, 20 to 30 pages in a week. And I don't think I want to read faster than that. But if I stick at that pace, that's like, I guess 10 more weeks, 11 more weeks. I don't know. I'm going to have to, both of those titles, I will need a strategy next year because I do plan on finishing everything that's in the jars by the end of next year. Some of them will just need a week or a month. Some of them will need a strategy. Those two will need a strategy. Another title that I read from last week, I read 32 pages from If Only They Could Talk by James Herriot. This is the first book in the All Creatures Great and Small series, which was adapted to a TV series last year, and it played here on PBS, and I loved it so much. And so I read, this is the first book, and the TV series, apparently the first season, I did look it up, and it is from book 1 and book 2. So this, I read 32 pages, and that was all that was left. So I finished it. Yay, I finished a book. And this one I actually started in September, so it's a bit more of a recent start, and I was reading it almost every day, just a chapter or two. The chapters in this one are very small. He's a veterinarian. It's set in the 1930s. It is semi-autobiographical from what I understand, and they're just stories between of the animals that he goes and the people that he meets and the people that he lives with, and it's very cozy and wonderful, and I absolutely adore it. I did go right on. I just jumped right into the second one, which is called It Shouldn't Happen to a Vet, which the first season of the TV show apparently is the first two books. Although some that I've read in the second book hasn't been in the TV show, but I imagine not every single scene adapts, but there was a very unique character, and I'm like, I think I would have remembered if they used that character. Maybe they just didn't want to. Anyway, so I went straight on to that one, but I'm not including the numbers because, hey, I wasn't currently reading it at the time that I so it doesn't count. It goes to my extra pages, not these pages. This I only got 32 because that's what was left. I loved it. I plan on finishing It Should Only Happen to a Vet by the end of the year. I don't think that should be any problem at all. So yeah, that was awesome. And then I continued to read Njal Saga. This is one of the Icelandic sagas. I read 92 pages from this one and I have 107 left. I really was kind of hoping to finish this one, especially given where it is right now. And it's 500 pages. I started it for Sagalong back in March or May. I can't remember. I think it was March. Can't remember. But yeah, read-alongs. Whew, it's like nowhere near March or May anymore, and I'm still reading it. Anyway, so I am enjoying it. I am understanding it a bit better. I don't get all of it. It was written in 1280 and is translated, and but I am getting more from it, and I do want to finish it. I was trying to push to finish this week, but I thought it would become less enjoyable and less understandable if I kept pushing myself, so I stopped because I realized, hey Shannon, next week you don't have any reading plans. You can just do what a normal person do, is just keep reading what you're already reading. So I hope to finish this next week. I don't have to put it back in the jar. I am free from the challenge reins. So anyway, is that the right use of rein? Not reined in by the challenge parameters, maybe? Anyway, so yeah, I hope to finish this hopefully this week, but definitely by the end of the year. I will just keep reading it. The chapters are really short. I am having some challenges. This is one of those silly things where I started using the page numbers in the Kindle, but I'm actually reading it on Scribd, and that was fine up until a point. And then it wasn't fine so much because there are so many chapters, like I think 140, and the chapter titles are in Roman numerals, and I'm okay. I'm pretty good with Roman numerals. I like math, and I like naming conventions, and I like understanding translation and that kind of iconography and all that kind of stuff. But once it hit 100, for some reason After, I'm okay to 50. I think 50 is L, and I can usually figure out 50 to 100, but for some reason after 100, I'm just like, it's just too many letters. It's just too many letters. Anyway, so it's just one of those silly things that I'm just like, I should have just used the scribd page count. Anyway, I will finish it, and then I won't have to think about that anymore. So that was the Now Saga. It is, I gotta say, it did hit a point where I was like, whoa, like it hit a quite a disturbing, there's a lot of fighting. A lot of this is about family feuds and people like attacking each other and trying to, and then having things resolved and then coming back and stuff like that. But it hit a point where I was like, oh, and so that is challenging. So I would like to finish it off and see what happens. And because it's pretty, like, it's obviously pretty heavy in terms of understanding as well as the content. So yeah. And then last up, I read 221 pages of Smoke Bitten by Patricia Briggs. This is the 12th book in the Mercy Thompson series, and I have 0 pages left. I finished a book. So I finished 2 books this week. It should only, or If Only They Could Talk and Smoke Bitten. This is an urban fantasy novel. It is, as it's the 12th in the series, I can't say too much about it. I will say that I enjoyed it. I am sad that I didn't keep any notes that I know of. Oh, they might have some in my spreadsheet, which I don't have access to right now, which is a whole other story. That's been challenging and kind of freeing. But anyway, but yeah, because there were some characters in this one that I couldn't remember when we were introduced to them. There are 2 characters that I sort of like thought were the same person, and that didn't work. And then there was someone else, and I'm like, wow, when did they crop up? And because it matters like what people's relationship is, and you know, who's where their allegiances lie and stuff like that. So I couldn't remember that. So I'm sad about that, but I'm better now with urban fantasy. I do have a system for tracking characters that I do now. But this one I started back, I think, in 2015. But I'm thrilled because now I'm up to date with the series, and that means I can read the 13th book when it comes out. It is scheduled, I think, for March next year. And there's a very few series that I'm actually up to date with. It always takes a long time to get it from the library. So there's this sort of like initial excitement, and then there's like 2 months of waiting or whatever. Yeah, I should probably save up and spend, you know, but it's always like I usually read them on Kindle, and then like it just like an ebook for over $10. It's like, but I'm like, I actually, you know, the author still put the same amount of work into it regardless of what the format is. So I actually feel like it's one of those things that just because ebooks do go on way deep dive or sale than generally print books do, that we have the feeling like, hey, I shouldn't pay more than $2 for an ebook. So, but like, as I said, the author did the same amount of work. So I don't know how I feel about that generally, but I know, like, I feel like how I respond to it does not intellectually match what I believe, and so there's a bit of friction there in my brain. So anyway, but I'm thrilled I finished this book, and I did push to finish this one because I will be starting Dance with the Devil by Sherilyn Kenyon with Anita. We're going to be starting our buddy read of that soon, and that's paranormal romance, and I don't like to be reading paranormal romance and urban fantasy at the same time because they can have a lot of the similar plots and ideas, and the world and the lore of that one is quite different from this, but they're both like real world set with, you know, more. So I like to keep that separate, and so I prioritized finishing Smoke Bitten, and I finished Smoke Bitten. So I'm really, really happy about that. All of my books, as you can probably tell, and my tired hand is telling me, all of my books this week were ebooks, all of them. So that was really surprising as well. I didn't notice that when I picked them out from the jars when I did my TBR video. So if you were counting along, that ends up having a total of 398 pages. So yay, I made my page count for the week. It was a rocky one, I will say that. How did I do? So it was up and down. So 92.29, is that right? Or 29.92? Yeah, 92.29, 104, 54, 96, 13, nada. And that often happens for the last day. And my goal is to be done by end of day Thursday so that I have Friday, Saturday off. So, so I ended up doing pretty well, but I did have a moment where I had a lot of other reading this week, and there was one day that I read so much and I hadn't hit my goal yet. It must have been Wednesday, I think, this 54 day, and I counted up I didn't count up all the pages, I counted up all the time that I'd spent reading because I was timing my reading, and it was an extraordinary amount of time, and I was like, I just closed my Kindle and I'm done. I'm done. Like, I didn't prioritize to get to my 5 very well that day, but I was like, I have done enough reading today, no more. So I might do a shift of instead of pages, time, and see how that happens. Maybe that might be a challenge that might be fun for next year. So 398 pages, and I did actually also, because I was looking and strategizing about some of the books, like the D&D book and the Anaïs book, and like the longer titles that I have on my list, which I'm not going to say because I am going to do a video sharing what's left in the jars, what didn't get pulled, what do I still have to read. Thank you to Mel for that suggestion. I love that suggestion. I am going to take you up on that suggestion because I think it would be fun. So look for that. I'll probably put it up later this week. But before I get to that, I was strategizing for looking at I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was so close. What was it? Right, I was strategizing the page counts, the remaining page counts for some of the tougher or longer titles, or tougher and longer titles. And so I did actually end up reading an additional 15 pages from Battle Royale because I was 15 pages between part 1 and part 2. So I got a couple extra pages in, and this is by Koshan Takami, translated by Yuji Onki, and I also showed this in my most recent book haul because I was reading this from the library in the summer, and I did decide to invest in getting a physical copy instead of waiting till next summer to finish it. And I will have to say, this is a book that I've been up and down on, but those 15 pages had some really compelling and emotionally complex moments to them. So I'm really glad that I just decided to read them, because now I'm actually at a point where I'm excited as opposed to have trepidation towards reading this, because the content is really tough. The story is really tough in this one. So I am really happy. It was just a happy accident that all of those things ended up happening. And so I did get just a few extra pages for that. And I did read, but I didn't finish my Lovember pick. I'm really surprised about that. So I read from An Illicit Indiscretion, that's hard to say, by Bronwyn Scott. This is for the new to me author prompt, although it would also fit for historical. I read 51 pages and it is 101 pages, so I am halfway there. I am enjoying it a lot. It's about a woman who sneaks out of a party at her house that she's supposed to meet eligible suitors. She climbs out the window because she wants to go see an what's it called? An astronomical. She wants to see Halley's Comet, so she sneaks out so she can see Halley's Comet and runs into someone who is not enjoying the party. So far the chemistry has been great. I've been liking the storyline. I love both the characters. I just particularly like the female character. This is a male-female romance, and I have, it has been great. So that is something to look forward to. So it's really weird to now be at the end of the challenge. I will probably do a reflection video. I think that makes sense. And I will share another video with what's left in the jars. But now I am kind of like, what do I read this week? I've had this so structured for so long, but my general goal, I'll keep reading An Illicit Indiscretion for Lovember, and I shared the rest of my Lovember picks last week at the end of the video, and so I will, hopefully I'll finish this by the end of the month. I don't know. What do we have, a week left? I don't know. From here on in, all reading, my goal is to not start anything I can't finish by the end of the year, and I still have lots to choose from my currently reading. I did get it down to 22. This week was the same as last week, so I didn't reduce it. That's because I started and finished the All Creatures Great and Small books, so I ended up being the same, which is better than increasing. The high in the sky goal would be to get down to 16 by the end of the year. December, which probably is a little not possible, but we'll see how things go. I definitely have a fair amount of things I think that I can, that didn't come up or only came up once or twice that I think I could finish by the end of the year. I'll talk about that more when I share what's left in the jars. But yeah, for me, the rest of the year, I just, if I read anything, I'm happy because we get into the holiday season, and for my family, all of the birthdays, with the exception of me and my brother and my brother-in-law, everyone is end of November to end of January. So it's all of the holidays and all of the birthdays from here until the end of January. So it is a very busy time. And so that's my focus, right? I'm gonna be prepping for the holidays, celebrating the holidays, and and that's what's going to be, and resting, because it takes a lot of effort. That's why I take January off. But I do hope to have a video about what my TBR idea is, and potentially, don't hold me to it, but hopefully potentially my first TBR of the year, because I did spend some time yesterday on my organizing my books, and so I have cobbled together what could be sort of my first TBR. So and I did read Ghost this week by Ibsen. It was a reread. So that's my last Ibsen for the year. I snuck it in. I'm like, I can't do it in December, so I did 2 in November. Oh my God. I gotta say, I am a little overtired from all of the reading. I'm overtired from other stuff. Life has been challenging, but so sometimes it's nice to have reading in my challenge and stuff like that to keep me grounded. Other times I'm just like, wow, I just can't focus. So this week was very up and down for that kind of stuff. I'm surprised I finished anything at all. I think I really wanted to make sure I was done Smoke Bitten before me and Anita read Dance with the Devil, so that was definitely inspiration to keep focus there. And I wanted to know what happened, and I wanted to be ready for a new release next year, which is something I am very not usually on top of things for. But when you've been with the series since, I've been reading that series for 6 years, I don't have many that I'm that on top of. So anyway, now I'm obviously babbling. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how your Lovember is going. I've really enjoyed what I have already read for it, and this one is great. For me, the Harlequin Undones are great because they're short, and they're just, especially if you don't know the author, I feel like it's a great way, and reading a novella is a great way to see if it's a good fit. And I think Bronwyn Scott is going to be a good fit for me, and I think I actually own one of her books as well. So who knows? I can't even remember. I was looking at stuff yesterday. I don't know. Sorry, gone. So yes. So I have no idea where things are going to go from here, but I do hope I'll have the video, what's left in the jars, and maybe a video talking about what my TBR plan is for next year, and then I might pre-film my first TBR so that I have something to start the year off of. But I do post on Instagram still. I just take a break from YouTube, and so that's how things have been going, and thank you so much for being with me for the challenge. Oh, I do also plan on doing a reflection. I did put the numbers together, so it might be just the numbers, and more numbers than reflection, but we'll see how things go. Okay, yes, I'm babbling. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back soon with another video.